Welcome to everybody. Bonjour a tous les gens qui sont déjà là. Hola a todos. Vamos a intentar hacer un DLAP en 3 idiomas mínimo, o sea, sería en castellano, francés, inglés. Si alguien quiere preguntar algo en catalán también puede, 4 idiomas, es igual, el idioma que queráis. Mientras seamos capaces de entenderlo y traducirlo, haremos lo que sea. Esto es Europa, pues allá vamos. Pues je commence. Bonjour a tous, merci d'être là. On va faire ça en 3 langues. Hola a todos. Vamos a hacer un DLAP en 3 idiomas, sería francés, español, inglés. Welcome everybody. No, en inglés no hace falta porque solo hay castellanos y franceses. De momento 2 idiomas. Bonjour a tous, hola a todos. Este es el DLAP de Poietis, una empresa de Bordeaux, Burdeos, en Francia, cruzando los Pirineos a la izquierda. C'est une entreprise de Bordeaux, en France, en Occitanie. Si vous êtes à Barcelone, c'est juste après les Pyrénées à gauche, vers l'ouest. Ils viennent d'avoir des gros incendies, c'est grave, mais bon, il faut faire avec, nous aussi. Y entonces la estructura de una reunión de DLAP o la estructura d'un DLAP chez Capital Cell es toujours la même, siempre es la misma, la estructura. Presento yo, presenta Capital Cell, y después hablará uno de los fundadores, un des fondateurs de Poietis, qui va nos explicará el proyecto, le projet, avec le pitch, con la presentación de unos 15-20 minutos en inglés, en anglais. Si tenéis preguntas en castellano, en catalán, en francés o en inglés, las podéis plantear en vuestro idioma materno y intentaremos traducirlas para que puedan contestarlas sin problemas. Si vous avez des questions, vous pouvez les poser dans votre langue maternelle, que ce soit l'anglais, le français, l'espagnol ou le catalan, et on va essayer de les traduire de façon que l'équipe fondateur, Bruno et Fabien, puisse répondre, ou le docteur Canal. Sin plus de délai, sin más, empezamos y doy paso a Fabien como cofundador de Poietis. Fabien, quand tu veux, en anglais. Merci, gracias.
So, hello everyone. So it's a great pleasure today to present you Poietis. So before sharing the presentation, so maybe just introduce myself. So I'm Fabien Guimau, founder and CEO of Poietis. So I used to be a researcher at INSERMS, that is the National Institute of Health and Medical Research, and I moved to the industry at the creation of Poietis. And currently, my main focus is on the development of the technology and to make it compliant with the biological and clinical needs.
So, and I'm Bruno Brisson. I'm co-founder and general manager and chief business officer at Poietis. So I'm a biochemist by training. I worked in the biotech medtech industry for almost 30 years now in different positions, mainly in business, sales and marketing, and general management. And so we met together in 2012, and we decided to mature the projects and to create the company in September 2014. I'm mainly, let's say, responsible of all the business development aspects, and that covers sales, especially for the instrumentation and the platform that we have, but also all the collaboration, for example, through European consortium, especially, for example, with Dr. Canals. We'll come back to that.
Thank you, Bruno. Thank you, Fabian. Okay, you can share your presentation. Okay.
So please let me know if it's okay.
It's okay, Fabian.
Yeah. So thank you. So we created Poietis 2 years ago with this vision to make tissue engineering a reality for patients. So as Theodore said, so we are located in Bordeaux, established in 2014. So today we are about 30 employees, and we are a vertically integrated clinical 3D bioprinting company, meaning that we commercialize bioprinting system, bioprinter, both for clinical use and research use, but we also develop our own tissue therapeutics pipeline with a main or a flagship product, which is Poieskin, which is a skin substitute. So we are there in the context of fundraising, in a pre-IPO fundraising that should start very soon with Capital Cell. So Poietis evolved in the context of tissue engineering, which is a very large market opportunity, since tissue engineering approach has a lot of capabilities for replacing organs on tissues for many parts of the body. It could be cornea, blood vessels, liver, skin, and so on. So on this, all these tissue on organs represent a very large market individually. So interestingly, if you look at the tissue engineering market, already we can observe a first generation of tissue engineering products that have been approved by the EMA, the European Medicine Agency, and the FDA. On those products, are, for instance, Holoclar, which is a cornea product commercialized by the Chiesi laboratory in Italy. Spherox and Massia, for instance, Cartridge product. On Appligraph, it's an allogenic skin product commercialized only in the US. So this shows that there is already a first generation of product, but from this first generation, the industry learned that the main bottleneck, the main issue is relies on tissue manufacturing conditions. So this means that it's really important to improve the standardization of the process and to make this treatment more accessible, more affordable for patients, since they are still too expensive. So in that context, we have been developing for the last years dedicated bioprinting platforms that we call NGB. That is probably the most advanced bioprinting platform in our industry. So this platform is a result of many years of development. So it's a platform that combines different technologies, both laser-assisted bioprinting, which is the core technology of Poietis, but also robotics, automation, and all other bioprinting techniques or technologies like the bioextrusion. That is the most important today. So to use this platform, we have developed some single-use consumable like a cartridge that is used to print living cells. So in addition to this hardware on consumable, we have also developed a dedicated software. And now we have installed a first bioprinter, a clinical grade bioprinter at Marseille Hospital to develop a first application, which is Poieskin. Our goal is to very soon start a clinical trial using this bioprinter. So to summarize, this NGB platform is meets the needs, the clinical and medical needs that are, for instance, standardization, accessibility, and the capacity to provide new therapies to clinicians. For instance, for standardization, thanks to automation, robotization, we increase the reproducibility, the comparability of manufacturing process. To make this treatment more accessible, the automation and robotization will allow to reduce cost. We are also promoting a point of care strategy, meaning to position this bioprinter directly into hospital to reduce cost, namely associated with logistics. As this printer is very flexible and compatible with a large number of cells, we will be able not only to print skin, but other tissues, and we will show you later some example. So interestingly, our platform, the NGB platform, is it's like a disruption in the context of bioprinting as compared to what we call the conventional bioprinting that some of you are probably familiar with, which is extrusion, which has very strong limitation in terms of, since it allows to print 3D shapes, like a ear, a nose, whatever, tissue, but this technology does not allow to control the internal architecture of the tissue. And also the cell viability is quite low due to shear stress that are applied to cells when the cells pass through the nozzle of this technology. So that's the reason why we have been developing the NGB technology that allows to print 3D shape, but also to control the internal tissue architecture at the cell level, which is really important since the cell biology, the tissue morphogenesis is driven by interaction between cells at the level at this level of scales. So we do think that in terms of, we do think that the NGB platform is really a paradigm shift, since now we can develop manufacturing approach driven by the biology, and not approaches conditioned by the printing device per se on its limitation. So this is due to a core technology, which is called laser-assisted bioprinting. This technology has been developed in the past at INSERM, and has been already validated over more than 30 different cell types, and also through animal testing. So its principle is very simple. So we use laser pulse that are focused on a cartridge made of a glass slide onto which we have spread a bioink that contains cells. And by focusing the light at the interface between the glass slide and the liquid film, we can generate very small jets of liquids that contain cells. So the main advantages of this technology, it's high resolution, down to single cell resolution, the cell viability, since there is no nozzle, no shear stress, and its high versatility, since we can print hydrogels, we can print cells, we can print cell aggregates on many different cell types. So thanks to this technology, we can improve the reproducibility, since we can control precisely where cells are positioned in the tissue. By positioning as well precisely the cells into 3D, we can fasten tissue morphogenesis and thus reduce the duration of the fabrication of the tissue. For instance, if we compare the fabrication of a skin tissue, when you use manual processes, it takes about 20 to 24 days, while using our approach, we have been able to reduce this manufacturing duration down to 10 days. And finally, thanks to this capacity to position different cell types in a very small environment and to control the interaction between cells, we can print more functional tissue. For instance, on more complex tissue is what we did with L'Oréal in the past. L'Oréal came to us to print a hair follicle, which is a very complex organ, mini micro-organs made of many different cell types. So from the beginning of the project in 2005, we have developed different prototypes and now commercializing two bioprinters, one which is called NGBR for research use, and another one which is called NGBC for clinical use on the fabrication of implantable tissues. So in the context of the competition, we do think that we have a very strong position in the clinical market segment, meaning through the competitors, through the bioprinting competitors, we observe very few companies that has the capacity to print implantable tissues with technology compliant with all the regulatory constraints of GMP, the Good Manufacturing Practice. We are the only European actor from those. Interestingly, over these 6 to 7 companies, only one have recently started a clinical trial, which is 3D Biotherapeutics. Our goal is to be one of the first to start a clinical trial of a bioprinted tissue. Hopefully, it should start our clinical trial should start by the end of this year. So we will start this clinical trial with Poietis, which is our first therapeutic product. So Poietis, it's an autologous, meaning made of patient-own cell, dermoepidermal skin substitute, which is indicated for the treatment of acute, like burns, on chronic wounds, and also for reconstructive surgery. So this represents a very large market opportunity, since more than 150 million people worldwide suffer from chronic or acute wounds. Since this market is value of about $3 billion in 2020. So interestingly, in terms of competition on this product, there is no tissue engineering skin product into the EU market, and there is no autologous skin substitute, dermoepidermal skin substitute into the global market. There is only allogenic product that are commercialized today, namely in the US. So to match the clinical need, we've developed what we call a target product profile. So this is a characteristic of the tissue. On Poietis, it's a 40 square centimeter skin substitute, 8 by 5, with a stratified epidermis. The goal, this was a wish from the clinician, was to make this tissue available in 21 days after the biopsy. So the expected benefits of Poietis is to overcome the standard of care, which is today's autograft, which has a strong limitation. So we are on the way to start a phase 1/2A clinical trial. Our goal is to enroll about 12 patients, and we will look at, namely, the graft take on the wound closure during this trial. To perform this trial, we have partnered for the last 2 years with Marseille Hospital in the south of France. So during the last year, we have performed we achieved many interesting results in terms of scale-up, but also in terms of characterization, either in vitro, using many different cells coming from different patients to study, namely batch-to-batch reproducibility and so on. And we have also evaluated Poietis in vivo in terms of suturability, which is important for plastic surgeon, but also in terms of graft take, which has been shown comparable to autograft. So interestingly, you see that Poietis has a specificity to both develop the technology and the tissue, which is very important because it enables us to shorten the development time of different products like tissues. This is something that we propose to our partner namely our clinical partner in the context of EU-funded projects that deals with, for instance, cartilage, and we are performing a project with the Catholic University of Leuven on the printing of implantable cartilage, and we have also project headed by the Professor Canals at the University of Barcelona on brain, and I guess that Professor Canal could give you some words later on these projects. So our strategy is now, after developing the platform and perform the preclinical studies, is now we enter in the next stage of the company. And this stage is to deploy NGB platform in cell therapy centers, namely, and to expand our portfolio of tissue therapeutics. So regarding tissue therapeutics, so our pipeline is made of different products. So the first is skin, and we have also a project that we perform with Paris Hospital that aims to print a patch to treat chronic heart failure. And we have also a project with which is supported by the EU, the Joint Promise Project, which aim to print cartilage made of spheroids. And we have a new project that is just starting with the University of Barcelona that has been recently funded as well, that deal with brain. So regarding bioprinter, so our goal is to now deploy NGB bioprinter both in hospital facilities and in research center. For our business model is mainly to what we call equipment as a service, meaning that we provide either bioprinters, but also consumable and services. Namely, it could be installation, maintenance, but also subscription digital services, basically. So we have installed last year a first clinical grade bioprinter at Marseille Hospital, and we have recently received 5 orders for research grade bioprinters that will present more than 1 million euros. And we are on the way of receiving the order from the University of Barcelona for a clinical grade bioprinter that will be installed at Creatio, which is a cell therapy center at the University of Barcelona. And Professor Canal could give you some words as well on this project, which is really promising for us. So interestingly, we do think that by positioning bioprinters directly at the hospital, we can provide some benefits for hospitals in terms of, since they could save costs in terms of production as compared to providing tissues to biotech. And it's also a way to value their own clinical research. And for us, this will enable us to have additional revenues like pay-per-use or royalties. And at the end, our goal is to establish a network of bioprinter and to leverage this network to produce more and more tissues and to be able to produce, for instance, a more personalized product. So in the context of this fundraising, so our goal is to raise a bit more than 500,000 euros. So these funds will be coupled with non-dilutive funds that we have already secured from the EU or the Aquitaine region on our self-financing capacity. And our goal is to reach some key inflection milestones, like the starting of the Poietis clinical trial. Also, our goal is to establish some joint venture with companies on that we are also working on, to be able to become public in an horizon of 12 months, since what we can see is that many, or not many, but few bioprinting companies has already become public, and they have been quite successful. So we do think that for the future expansion of Poietis, this financing, this IPO could be very promising, and for the current investor, a way also for an exit. So in terms of financial forecast, so our business model, as mentioned, is based on revenue stacking from leasing or sales of bioprinter, but also consumable, pay-per-use, and tissue. And what we model is at by the end of this decade, total revenue of about 200 million euros. So to wrap up, we do think that the key reason to invest in Poietis are those. So we are on a high market potential. We have probably the most advanced bioprinting platform for clinical application, and with a strong IP, about 40 patent families with freedom to operate, that has been circular. We have an interesting pipeline of application with Poietis as a first product. We have an experienced team with also a strong scientific network through European projects, through the Scientific Advisory Board. And in the coming months, we will have key value inflection milestones that will increase the value of the company, but also pave the way to new partnerships and to establish the bioprinting, the point of care bioprinting network. So thank you for your attention. We'll be really happy to answer questions if you are in different languages.
Thank you, Fabien. Okay. Thank you, Fabien. Thank you, Bruno. I think now it's time for Dr. Josep Maria Canals. It would be good if he can explain to investors why Poietis option or solution or project is better than others, or what is the difference in science or in business approach or in scientific. I mean, your opinion as an expert, as you are, Dr. Canals, when you want.
Okay, thank you very much for the introduction. So, welcome everybody, and thank you for inviting me. So, first of all, I would like to introduce myself. I am Josep Canals. I am a professor at the University of Barcelona, at the Department of Biomedical Science. And I am also the director of the ISO, that is the Production and Validation Center for ATMPs in the University of Barcelona. We have been working, producing different kinds of ATMPs, including cell therapies and gene therapies. For example, we have produced the cellular vaccine for HIV, or we are producing lentiviral particles for many hospitals in Spain. So we have a large trajectory in producing clinical grade ATMPs. Okay, and we became interested in a 3D bioprinter time ago, just before the pandemic. And we were interested because we thought that this is a very exciting field, and it's very innovative and has a large future. So we start to analyze the market, and we did a market analysis of the companies that produce bioprinters at that time. This was around 2017 or 18. And we were very interested in the technology that Poietis is using. So Poietis is using a combination of technologies that give a great advantage over the rest of bioprinters that we have observed at that time. So we start to get in contact with Fabienne at Poietis, and we quickly develop a good, I would say, a good relationship with them, because they are really experts on that field and they are professionals. And we start to write a project for the European Commission. And this was successful. So we got the first project with them. That was an European training network that started just before the pandemic at the end of 2019. And we have collaborated with them to develop this project. And in fact, we are co-supervisor for one student. So we have a student that is co-supervised by Fabienne and by myself. So as this was very successful and they have developed the technologies to print neurospheres, so we move on the next project. And the next project that we applied was a project to build mini brains with the technology. This is not possible with many technologies. There are manual technologies that you can develop these mini brains, but with the manual technologies, you cannot sit the cells in the right position. You cannot make the tissue that you want in the way that you want. So the technology, the combination of technologies that Poietis offers combines the laser bioprinter with extrusion, for example, and you can combine both techniques to make the tissue exactly in the way that you want to do it. So it's not something that you do random. It's something that you decide where you want to put the cells or how you want to put the cells. And this is critical if you are thinking in a medical product. And for this reason, we applied to the Spanish minister for a grant that we got last year. Was a Spanish grant to buy a bioprinter, and we had to open a market consultancy. And when we opened this market, we realized that the only bioprinter available at that time is the one from Poietis. So we opened the tender, and we just got a proposal that was from Poietis. And this proposal is the winner. And now next week, we are going to sign a contract for this new NGVC bioprinter. It will be the first bioprinter in Spain under GMP compliance. And this is critical because there are many different projects that are developing products at the research level, but there is no opportunity to move to a medical product. And the technology and the agreement that we have with Poietis will open this technology to the medical field to produce medical products under GMP. And since we announced that we are going to have this bioprinter, many collaborators become very interested to collaborate with us in different projects. And for example, we have also made a proposal with different pharma companies here in Spain to create different kinds of tissues in GMP compliance. So this is important for the market. This is really important for the technology to advance to make a real ATMP. So the technology that Poietis has is a technology that is validated under GMP, and it means that all the products that you do, even at research level, can be transferable to a GMP or a medical product, and this is really important. So this is our experience with them. I have to say that always that we contact them, they are very professionals, and they solve the problems that you have. So they are experts on the field of bioprinting, and of course, they support you at the technical level, but also at the scientific level. And this is very relevant because when you develop these outstanding procedures, you need the help of experts to develop the field. And this is my point of view. And in fact, just to add, we are now preparing ERC synergy that we are going to apply in November, and they will be one of the partners of the project.
Thank you very much, Dr. Canals. I think your explanations were critical to understand the project of Poietis. I mean, being the only ones able to deliver bioprinters now in Europe, it's just, if I was an investor, I think I like monopoles. I like being the first in any technology or in any innovative technology. So it's nice to know. Okay, now it's time for the questions. As I told you, if you feel more comfortable putting the questions in Spanish, Catalan, French, or English, we will try to translate just to do it, to make it easier for everyone. If not, you can send it by email to Poietis or to Capital Cell, and we will translate. I think Fabien or Dr. Canals, they didn't explain. Poietis was already financed before in a crowdfunding company in France called WeSeed. And now we had the opportunity to finance them in Capital Cell in Spain. So they have already experience with crowdfunding, but in France. And so this is why we have some French investors, I think already investors in Poietis through WeSeed, and now they will be investors through Capital Cell if they feel interested. Any problem for this, you just ask and we will help you. We speak French and English, no problem, okay? So we have a first question in English from Spanish investor, but I read it because normally we give the option to put the question, but because it's in English, I read it. Thank you for your presentation. It's Edgar. Edgar, the question is, thank you for your presentation. Which kind of biomaterials do you use to print? I guess, depending on the application, the most common materials are PLA or ABS, between others. But for instance, ABS is basically used for anatomic models due to biocompatibility problems, as they did it recently in Hospital Sant Joan de Déu. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. When you have to define the material you print, depending on the application for modeling tissues, which is not for implantation, usually people are using ABS or polymers, thermoplastic polymers that are not really biocompatible. In our context, for instance, for skin, which is our main product, we print collagen type 1, which is obtained from beef. There are extract from beef on its in very specific condition, so that to prevent from some contamination or mad cow disease and so on. So we have quite now a strong capacity or knowledge to print collagen, which is quite difficult. But our platform, we have shown that we can print very different materials. And mainly, we have a focus with implantable materials, which are, for instance, collagen, hyaluronic acid, it could be chitosan and so on.
Okay, thank you, Fabien. And if there are no more questions, my question could be: could you explain a bit more about your families of patents you have? You say 14 families. What is protected with your IP?
Yeah, so we have indeed 14 patent families. On more than 60 of them, 60 patents have been granted. Have been applied on about 25 are now granted. On those patents cover mainly the technology. So we have IP strategy based on first protect the core of the technology, which is laser-assisted bioprinting, and we have added with time, new capabilities on the platform. The combination of laser-assisted bioprinting with other bioprinting technology. The combination of laser-assisted bioprinting with robotics, automation, the design of a specific cartridge, for instance, have been also patented. More recently, we have also applied for new patents for applications. For instance, we have one patent application dealing with skin application, another one dealing with heart valve, on another one that was just recently applied with the Catholic University of Leuven dealing with cartilage. So more, I would say that our strategy is to protect the technology. Now we expand this portfolio to applications.
Okay, thanks. No more questions. No hay más preguntas. Podéis preguntar en castellano, pueden poser la question en français. Ne soyez pas si timide. Pas de questions. The company will be launched, the financing in Capital Cell will be launched this Thursday, so after tomorrow in the morning, that is around 9 a.m., the financing should be open in Capital Cell. For those who have never invested through Capital Cell, it's very easy. You go to capitalcell.es and you register and then you invest. If you have any questions, you can ask. And the pre-money valuation is 39 million. That is 40% discount from the IPO valuation done last year or when?
Yeah, at the end of last year.
At the end of last year, the company was valued in 65 million. So investors now, they are getting directly 40% discount from this last year valuation, and the company has done much more than since last year. And that's all. Wait, new question. Question from, two questions. Olga Millán question, thanks Bruno for your explanation. Regarding the patents, how many out of the 14 mentioned have been granted already? I think you already said that.
Yeah, it's about between 22 25 patterns. So this means national applications. On those deal with the first pattern we applied for, which cover the combination of laser-assisted bioprinting with extrusion techniques, for instance. This also cover another pattern on a specific configuration of laser-assisted bioprinting. We usually apply for patents in Europe, in most of European countries, also in the US and Canada, in China, Japan, and South Korea.
Okay, wait, because the next question is a visit question. Wait, what is the question here? Dominique says, as visit investor, I'm not registered at Capital Cell. What will be the conditions for subscriptions? The conditions for all investors through Capital Cell will be the same. The only special thing is because visit investors normally they will be from France. We will help them with a special attention, speaking French and helping them because you know Europe is not finished, so it's not so easy. If you are French and you invest in Spanish companies, you need like a paper, but we will explain you how to do it, the register and then the investment. Okay, it's quite easy, but first time is not so easy. So we will help you. I will give you my email and we will answer all your queries and it will be quite easy. We have already done this before with another French company and we got like 20 or 30 investors from France and we will helping them. It was feasible. It's not so complicated. Oh, so many questions. Dominique, I will give you my email and then you can email me. Josep, new question. Thank you for the presentation. I wanted to ask about how big is the bioprinter and the cartridge. Is it possible to quickly combine and change different cartridges to generate more complex tissues?
Yep. Yeah, maybe I can take this one. Just in terms, well, you know, the system is not like a simple tabletop system that you can see sometimes, you know, mainly in the academia sector. So here it's a custom-made kind of a type 2 biosafety cabinet. So it's almost the size of a culture hood system. So that means the cabinet is about, I would say, almost 2 meters high in terms of size, and 1.3 in terms of width. So yeah, it's well, relatively cumbersome, but you know, everything is combined in the system. That means, for example, filters to guarantee the aspiration of the air and all the necessary conditions to be in a proper environment for the cells and for the bioprinting process. And we have this everything is inserted inside the system, like all the electronic, the robotic arm, for example, laminar flow in the top. So yeah, it's relatively, I would say, big, but again, it's comparable to like a culture hood system that you can find in laboratories. So then, in terms of cartridges, this is something that can be considered as consumables, and that means that will be for clinical use. That will be single-use system, of course. That will be one set of cartridge for one patient, I would say, because we'll use very often the patients of the cells of the patient. So that will be a single-use system.
Thank you, Bruno. Next question from Olga. Okay, thanks. Also, I would like to know if you have contacts with other hospitals to install these printers for clinical use, other printers for clinical use.
Yes, we do. Today, we are mainly focused on Europe, and besides, as we mentioned, Marseille in France, and now Casio and the University of Barcelona. Both are, as we say, KOL, of course, but we do have other discussions, for example, in Belgium and in the Netherlands. Very often, some centers associated with hospitals. So that means tissue engineering centers and labs associated with hospitals, and it's, relatively promising in the way that, the kind of interactions that we have with clinicians as of today with the offer. So that's interesting.
Okay, thanks. Next question from Edgar. Edgar has already put 2 questions. Okay. Edgar, thank you again for your explanation. Some studies show the importance of hydrogels in the future for tissue regeneration. What do you think about it? Would it be possible to print this kind of biomaterials?
Yeah, the platform, the material we print with the platform are mainly hydrogels. Collagens that we spoke about is a kind of these biomaterials. There are today numerous labs, research labs that are developing new type of hydrogels. Also companies that are specialized now in marketing such kind of bioinks. So far we have been able to print a large panel of these biomaterials. And for that, we mainly use extrusion, the extrusion technique, or we could do that also by laser, but as a resolution when you print materials is usually less than for cells, we leverage this capacity of extrusion.
Okay, perfect. Next question is in French, but it's quite easy. Bonjour, quel est le ticket minimum d'investissement? Le ticket minimum serait de 1000 euros. Minimum ticket for the capital cell financing round will be the 1000 euro. Okay, ticket minimum 1000 euros. Okay, very easy. Jordan, merci. Luis Martin, when is it expected the break-even to be reached? What is the expected revenues needed to get to this point? Break-even for the company.
So this will depend on how much we invest in clinical trials of our pipeline, which is, I would say, the expense are on this side of the company, while the equipment side is much more profitable. So in our forecast, the break-even is about 2025, based on the development of clinical trial till phase 3 for Poietis, which is quite expensive. So, but if, for instance, we develop more, we push more products into clinical trial, we will need more funds. And if we license more quickly the Poietis product, so probably we will be profitable sooner in that context. So it's a matter of strategy. Our goal is to leverage the business around bioprinter to finance the company and to be able to be a break-even as soon as possible, as compared to a pure biotech model for which, well, the break-even is usually very long or sometimes never obtained.
So Fabien, you mean that your bioprinters will be able maybe to finance the clinical trials for the products?
At least for phase 1, or for the first level, the first phases, well, the cost is not so expensive, but when you reach phase 3, for instance, they are very, very expensive. And the margin will be not enough from the printer to cover the expenses for clinical trial.
Yes, but normally when you achieve phase 3, you will already be in Euronext. The idea is going public before phase 3 to get the funds.
But as the point was about break even. So
okay, but I mean you will reach break even already public normally.
Yeah,
it will be first going public and then break even. Okay, I understand. Perfect. We have so many questions. I'm happy. Okay, now are the tough questions from investor Luis. Luis is a specialist putting tough questions. Be ready, Fabien and Bruno. I have a more financial question. I have downloaded your pitch from Visit July 2017. It was expected that 2021 turnover would be 7 million, around 7 million. But in current pitch, it's stated that revenues for 2022 will be 1 million. In order to understand your business, why are financial figures so difficult to forecast? Why current 2022-26 forecast is more robust than your past 2016-21?
Yes, that's a good question. As you know, we are like a deep tech or in we have a technology which is quite disruptive. So we started the company on a specific market, which is a cosmetic market. So we initially developed Poietis, so the skin model for testing application. And in that context, we at the very beginning of the company, we partner with different companies like BASF, L'Oreal, and so on. And we also develop Poietis on that, and we also market Poietis for testing. We anticipated that this market was already matured, but it was not. We consider in the past that this market could be at quite a big potential, since due to the evolution of the regulation in Europe that ban animal testing for cosmetic products and so on. So from that point, we anticipated that the cosmetic companies will need a lot of tissues. At the end of the day, well, they use and they start to buy some skin tissues, but mainly, I would say, for marketing purpose, and not really on a regular basis for testing. So that's the reason why our expectation was, our forecast was wrong. And that's also the reason why we pivot at the beginning of 2018 to move towards the business models that we present you today, that is no more focused on in vitro testing for pharma or cosmetic application, but more for clinical application with this also this model of commercializing printer. So we do think that our forecasts are more robust now. At least what we observe is a very good traction, since we have already received orders for 5 NGBR, and we are expecting in the coming weeks to receive the order for the NGBC from the University of Barcelona.
Thank you, Fabian. I thought the answer was the pandemics, because everything wrong is always the pandemics, but you were sincere.
Yeah, it doesn't
okay.
help, but it's important also to be honest. Honest. I don't matter with that.
Okay, second question from Juice. Were used that most projects presented in Capital Cell platform are led by non-investors, lead investors, or VC. Can you explain your main lead investors, the investors you already have?
The main investor today are, preliminary rounds were performed on WeSeed, the French crowdfunding platform, with which some funds, regional funds, national funds from BPI has invested.
And regional fund as well.
Yeah, regional, which is called NACO, okay. On a national fund from BPI, the public bank.
Okay, so it's a kind of public lead investor in the past.
Yeah.
Luis, from my side, when we were discussing with Poietis team, that is Fabian and Bruno, of course, we asked them where are the lead investors. The idea is they don't have real, as we are used to, investors taking about 25% of the round. But it's true that Poietis has already done crowdfunding before in WeSeed, like 2 times or 3 times. So they have more than 2,000 investors through WeSeed. And the expectation is part of these investors will invest again, will be doing a follow-on in the current round. So it's like a virtual lead investor composed of several WeSeed investors. Okay, this is the idea. Thank you. Next question, Olga. Thanks, Fabian. Fabian, like a woman, no, Fabian, a man, for the information. Josep Maria mentioned, the doctor, that the first contact with the Biomed Science department in the University of Barcelona was for the ETN. These are European projects to train ESR. Could you explain what was the role of Poietis in the project, and also which will be its role in the synergy project you intend to apply in November? If Josep Maria wants to answer this question because it's concerning him, you can do what you prefer.
Yeah, I don't care. I can answer. So the role that the Poietis has at the ETN is as expert for bioprinting. ETN is focused on developing new methods for neurological disease approaches. And the idea is that they participate and they train students at the bioprinting technology. So as far as I know, they had many different secondments, students that have performed secondments at Poietis because they are interested in learning about bioprinting. Besides the pandemic, that this was very, very important for the project. No? So this is an ATN, and we expect the mobility of the students, and was impossible during the pandemic. But after the pandemic, many students have been performing secondment at Poietis to learn bioprinting. Also to develop new techniques with the students that we share on bioprinting mini brains and bioprinting neuronal tissue. And for the synergy project, they are going to participate as bioprinting experts, but I hope that you understand that the project is still confidential and we cannot provide details at this level. Okay. I'm sorry for that.
Perfect. This is nice. Perfect. Next question is in French. Fabian, Bruno, you see the question, yes?
Yep.
In French. Okay, I will translate to English just in case someone doesn't understand the questions. Pre-money valuation is 39 million. This is 40% discount from the last valuation of the company. It was 65 million. Le ticket minimum ou le investment ticket is 1,000 euros, 1000 euros. Et ça, it's for you. Valeur de l'action par rapport aux anciennes souscriptions WeSeed. Do you have a document, business plan avec chiffre d'affaires, marge future? Et à Poietis, pourquoi pas WeSeed again? Ça.
Donc, concernant la... regarding the last question, why we have not we have not started the fundraising on WeSeed. So we have this discussion with WeSeed since WeSeed is at our board. On us, we have already performed 3 different fundraising at WeSeed. And they said that well, they do prefer that we organize this fundraising on another platform. And this is also an interesting opportunity for us. It's a way to open to outside France to have new investors coming from Europe, since we are at this stage of expanding the platform on our business outside France. So it makes sense, and also in the perspective of the IPO, having many investors coming from different places, it's also a nice opportunity. So in terms for the documents, so I guess that all documents will be on the platform. I guess I don't know, Theodore, if you want to comment that.
Yeah, all details and documents will be available as soon as the financing round is open on Thursday. And all people who are in this meeting, you should have received access, Dominique, to my drive with all details about the company, the pitch and the valuation and the pager and all the IP, all the information we have for this round is already available for all the DLAP attendants, and of course on Thursday for everybody. Okay. What said Bruno? Normally, why not WeSeed and why capital sale? Normally, platforms we try to, as investors, we try to diversify. So we prefer not to, even if we do it sometimes, we prefer not to finance twice or 3 times the same company. It could once it's perfect, twice it could happen, never 3 times, never, because you are not diversifying your opportunities, and it's already done. We need to have as many as different companies just to reduce the risk. So if we are financing 3 times the same company, whether we are WeSeed or we are capital sale, is too risky, because we are concentrating too much money or too many investors in the same company. So it's normal that WeSeed thought, or Poietis thought, it was a good idea to find another platform. On the same way, if we get a company who wants to be financed for the third time, it could be interesting to go to WeSeed. It could happen. This is Europe. It will happen since end of 2021, when the regulation for all Europe is the same. It will happen frequently, just to cross borders and find different investors in different countries. Okay, thank you, Dominique. We have so many questions. Okay, next, Jordan. Est-ce que le fait que la levée n'est pas proposée sur WeSeed signifie qu'une sortie des WeSeeders est envisagée avant la IPO?
Non.
Okay. The question in English was, okay, before the IPO or going public to the market, the idea is that the WeSeeders will be bought out or will be no, okay. So they will be still investors in the company. Yes. Okay, Ferran Colas, why? Well, this is already done. Why now capital sale? Why not WeSeed again? Because it could be the 3rd time in WeSeed, and they prefer to pass the possibility to us. Are previous investors going to invest in this round? They are free to do it, yeah? Fabien or Bruno?
Yeah. We have already discussion for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are more than 2,000. They will do as they thought, as they think. Some will follow on, some not. Okay, our estimation that some will be interested in keep on investing. Olga, thanks. Okay, perfect. Julien, les perspectives relatives aux maladies cardiaques peuvent-elles aboutir à un partenariat avec Carmat?
So Carmat, for those who, it's a French company that develops artificial heart. Is well known. They are now at the market stage since they start to commercialize their art. Yeah. It's a long-term project that has been developed about the beginning of this century. Well, I would consider the approach are probably complementary, but I don't see if we can, because the product is very artificial. So I do not anticipate, I don't see how we could combine, for instance, a synthetic part, a biological part with a artificial art. But well, frankly speaking, probably we have to think a bit more about that. But it's no, we have not yet anticipated any partnership with Carmat, even if it's an interesting company.
Okay, thank you, Fabien. And last question, Dominique, si j'investis par Capital Cell, puis-je bénéficier d'une réduction d'impôt en France, comme pour d'autres startups par ici?
Ce dont on discute, what we discuss, sorry, is that we create a holding, and in that context, if the holding is located in France, you will have réduction d'impôt. I don't know how to say that in English.
Tax incentive.
Yes, tax incentive, tax reduction, yes.
But okay. This is on the legal discussion with our lawyers.
Okay, perfect. So I think we have no more questions. If you have more questions, but not now, but later, then you may ask by email or you call us during the round of tomorrow or after Thursday, and we will be online for you. Okay, thank you very much for resisting till 7 p.m. 11 minutes. This is more than 1 hour talking science. This is the goal of Capital Cell, financing good scientific companies who will be profitable for investors and doing good for the world and the people. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Canals. Thank you, Fabien and Bruno. It was a pleasure to discuss with you about Poietis. And thank you to everybody, and see you on Thursday or whenever you want.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Gracias.
Bye-bye.
Gracias.